In early June, it was reported by ERR that Italy would be deploying its Samp air defense system to Estonia later this year. The media outlet noted that Estonia has been seeking partners for rotational air defense deployments, with Spain sending its Nasams system in late 2024 as well as in 2023. With this news as a launching point, no pun intended, let's look at the concept and reality of rotational air defense in the Baltics. So yes, just like the Baltic Air Police mission, which sees allied nations rotating through the Baltics with fighter jets, there are occasional rotations of air defense systems by some of those same allies. And it's for the same reason as the Baltic Air Police mission. Air defense is expensive, and the military budgets of the three small Baltic nations is already stretched thin with other acquisitions and expenditures. Positioning NATO air defense assets on its eastern flank simply makes sense as a deterrent. As for cost, an August 2024 report from Politico states that the cost of a Samp system has been pitched around $500 million, while for a Patriot the estimate is a bit higher. And then there's the cost of ammunition, with a single PAC-3 MSE missile made by Lockheed Martin costing about $3.7 million. A single Aster-30 missile, which is used by the Samp, costs about $2 million. Now, the Baltics do have air defense systems of their own, but the rotational model allows for more robust protection while giving allies a chance to practice deployment and interoperability. When it comes to Baltic capabilities, Lithuania operates the Norwegian Nasams system, while Latvia and Estonia have decided to jointly purchase the Iris-T from Germany. Speaking about the rotational air defense deployment, Estonia's Minister of Defense and his Italian counterpart wrote in a statement, "The deployment of Samp to Amari Air Base is a sign of the indivisibility of Allied security and underlines the alliance's resolve to safeguard Allied territory, populations and forces from air and missile threats through a robust air and missile defense." Such deployments fall under the larger NATO program known as IAMD, Integrated Air and Missile Defense. As explained by NATO, this is a rotational model that provides for regular deployments of combat aircraft and surface-based air and missile defense systems, as well as enablers such as sensors to different allies. It also provides significant training and exercise opportunities and is mainly focused on the alliance's eastern flank. Lithuania's Vice Minister of National Defense explained that the rotational NATO air defense model was approved at the 2023 NATO summit in Vilnius, but has been quite slow to become a reality in Lithuania. In 2024, the Netherlands deployed the Patriot air-based long-range air defense system to Lithuania, marking the implementation of NATO's rotational air defense model in the country.
A Patriot air defense system from the Netherlands has been deployed to Lithuania as part of the Baltic Connection military exercise. Officials say it's the first step towards the rotational air defense model agreed to during last year's NATO summit in Vilnius.
Italy then deployed its Samp system to Lithuania in February 2025. But at least so far, the rotational air defense model is non-continuous, unlike the Air Police mission. The Dutch deployment of the Patriot system lasted just several weeks, while Italy's deployments to Lithuania lasted from February 10th to 20th. As we touched on earlier, Estonia has seen 2 NASAMS deployments from Spain and will host Italy's Samp systems later in 2025. With deployments being relatively few and far between, especially when compared to the ever-present air policing deployments, it would appear to be less of a real consistent deterrent and more of a show that takes place from time to time. And so, when asked about this patchwork of deployments and lack of continuous coverage, Lithuania's Minister of Defense had this to say in an interview in early June. "This model really makes sense. I'm talking to my fellow defense ministers about the development of the rotational air defense model. I think that over the next 2 years we will have more than one new case in Lithuania. I had a very good meeting with the French defense minister in Brussels. We discussed their contribution to the rotational air defense model, both in terms of land and maritime capabilities. We hope to have them in Lithuania at least a couple of times over the next 2 years. The interviewer further challenges the minister, asking, "But the original idea was to have continuous, permanent rotational air defense. You are now talking about how it is more about certain exercises from time to time." The minister responded to this saying, "Yes, at the moment it actually works more on this principle." So there you have it. The rotational air defense model is essentially in its infancy, and the Baltics are working with NATO and its members to get commitments to this relatively new rotational system. Yes, air defense systems are expensive, but at the same time, deploying these systems to the Baltics costs money as well. Deployed soldiers almost always get paid extra, and there is the expense of transporting such systems back and forth. But, well, considering the Baltics are literally at the eastern edge of NATO and up against non-allied territory, it simply makes sense for allies from other parts of Europe to position their air defense systems on this side of the continent, where the threat is most present. There are two footnotes to all of this. The first is that Spanish forces have deployed their Nasams systems to Latvia since 2023. The Spanish Ministry of Defense says that the deployment is part of NATO's Integrated Air and Missile Defense, or NATO IAMD, but as far as we can tell, there hasn't been an explicit connection made between the deployment and the NATO rotational air defense model. We're not exactly sure why this is the case. Maybe it's not as rotational as the other deployments and has actually been a rather consistent presence in Latvia for the past few years, but we're not 100% sure. The final note is that Estonia announced that it would be purchasing a medium-range air defense system on its own. At the time of making this video, the specific system has not been decided, but ERR notes that the top contenders for procurement currently include air defense systems made by Israel, the US, including the Patriot system, and the French-Italian consortium Eurosam. What do you think of the current state of NATO's rotational air defense model? Let us know by leaving a comment.